The sun hung low over the endless expanse of golden sand, casting long shadows across the barren desert. Dr. Elise Marlowe adjusted her goggles and wiped sweat from her brow. She had been trekking for hours under the scorching heat, carrying equipment too delicate to leave behind in her truck. Her mission was simple, or so it seemed at first: test new atmospheric sensors designed to detect trace gases that might hint at extraterrestrial life. What she didn't expect was to stumble upon something far beyond science. Elise crouched near a cluster of rocks, setting up the last sensor. As she fiddled with its controls, a faint hum filled the air, not loud enough to startle her, but strange enough to make her pause. It wasn't mechanical. It felt alive, vibrating through her chest, like an unspoken melody. Slowly, she stood, scanning the horizon. The desert stretched endlessly, empty save for the occasional tumbleweed rolling past. Probably just wind, she muttered to herself, though doubt lingered in her voice. But then, the light appeared. At first, it was subtle, a shimmer on the edge of her vision, like heat waves rising off asphalt. But as she turned toward it, the glow intensified, forming a humanoid shape. Elise froze, her heart pounding against her ribs. The figure stepped closer, each movement fluid yet unnatural, as if defying gravity itself. Its skin sparkled faintly, shifting colors with every step, and its eyes glowed softly, like twin galaxies suspended in deep space. "Who? What are you?" Elise stammered, taking a hesitant step back. The being tilted its head, studying her with an expression that seemed both curious and knowing. Then, without speaking aloud, words formed directly in Elise's mind. Asterisk, you don't know me, but I know you, human. Asterisk. Elise gasped, clutching her chest, as if the sound of those words could physically wound her. What do you mean? How do you know me? Before the creature could answer, or perhaps before Elise could process another thought, it extended one slender arm toward her. In its hand rested a small crystalline object, no larger than a coin, pulsing gently with an inner light. The alien placed it carefully on the ground between them and took a step back. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the silence heavy with unspoken questions. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished, leaving only the crystal behind. Sand swirled where it had stood, erasing any trace of its presence. Elise blinked, unsure whether what she'd seen was real or some bizarre hallucination brought on by exhaustion and dehydration. But when she knelt to inspect the crystal, there was no denying its existence. It lay there, warm to the touch, radiating a faint hum that matched the one she'd heard earlier. Tentatively, she picked it up, feeling its smooth surface beneath her fingertips. As soon as her skin made contact, a jolt ran through her body. Not painful, but startling. Images flashed in her mind. Stars swirling into patterns, alien landscapes dotted with towering structures, and symbols that shifted and danced like living things. She dropped the crystal with a gasp, clutching her head as the visions faded. "What the hell is this?" she whispered, staring at the tiny object now lying innocently on the sand. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was this proof of extraterrestrial life? A message? Or something entirely beyond comprehension? One thing was certain. Whatever this was, it wasn't going to let her walk away unchanged. With trembling hands, Elise scooped the crystal into her pocket and hurried back to her truck, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily on her shoulders. Whatever answers awaited her, she knew one thing for sure: her life would never be the same again. Late one night, as Elise pored over the alien symbols projected onto her lab wall, the air around her grew unnaturally still. The hum of her equipment faded into silence, and the fluorescent lights above flickered before dimming altogether. Her breath caught in her throat as a familiar shimmer began to form at the edge of her vision. Slowly, the alien woman, Keleth, materialized before her, her radiant presence casting an ethereal glow across the room. Elise stumbled back, nearly knocking over her chair. "You," she whispered, her voice trembling between awe and fear. Caliph tilted her head, studying Elise with those galaxy-like eyes that seemed to pierce straight through her soul. Asterisk, do not be afraid, asterisk, came the gentle voice in Elise's mind. Asterisk, I am here to guide you. Asterisk, guide me? Elise repeated, finding her voice despite the surreal situation. What do you want from me? Why did you give me this thing? She gestured toward the crystal, which now pulsed faintly on the table. Caliph stepped closer, her movements fluid and graceful. Asterisk, it is called the Aether Shard, a fragment of knowledge meant to awaken understanding. You were chosen because your kind stands at a crossroads. Your actions will shape not only your future, but the fate of countless others. Asterisk. Elise frowned, struggling to process what she was hearing. Chosen? By who? And what do you mean by crossroads? Caliph hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. Asterisk, my people, the Vairani, are wanderers among the stars. We observe civilizations like yours, seeking to understand their potential. Humanity has shown great promise, invention, creativity, resilience, but also destruction, greed, division. Soon, an event approaches, an energy convergence that will test your species. It can elevate you or annihilate you, depending on how you respond. Asterisk. Elise's mind raced. An event. What kind of event? When is it happening? Asterisk. That is for you to uncover. Asterisk. Caliph replied cryptically. Asterisk. The Aether Shard holds the answers, but they are not freely given. You must prove yourself worthy of trust by solving its riddles. Asterisk. What happens if I fail? Elise asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Caliph's expression softened, though there was no mistaking the gravity in her tone. Asterisk. Failure means humanity will face the consequences alone. But know this, we do not interfere without reason. My faith in your kind is fragile, but it exists. Asterisk. Before Elise could respond, Caliph raised a hand, silencing her with a gesture. Asterisk. Time grows short, human. The shard will continue to guide you, but only if you remain steadfast. Trust in your intellect, your empathy, and your courage. These qualities may yet save your world. Asterisk. With that, Caliph began to fade, her form dissolving into shimmering motes of light. Elise reached out instinctively, as if trying to hold her back. Wait, you can't just leave me with all these questions. But Caliph was already gone, leaving behind only the faint scent of ozone and the pulsing glow of the Aether Shard. Elise sank into her chair, overwhelmed by everything she'd just learned. An alien race had been watching humanity for centuries, judging whether they deserved salvation or abandonment. And somehow, she, a lone scientist with no experience in interstellar diplomacy, was supposed to decipher a cosmic puzzle that could determine Earth's survival. As the weight of responsibility settled over her, Elise clenched her fists. She couldn't afford to doubt herself now. Whatever trials lay ahead, she would face them head-on, for the sake of her species and perhaps the entire universe. With newfound resolve, she turned back to the shard, ready to unlock its secrets one step at a time. The next morning, Elise awoke to find the Aether Shard glowing brighter than ever before. It sat on her workbench, pulsing rhythmically, as if it were alive and waiting for her. She approached cautiously, her mind replaying Caliph's words. Asterisk. Solve its riddles. Asterisk. What kind of riddles could an alien artifact possibly present? And how was she supposed to prove herself worthy? As soon as she touched the shard, the room around her dissolved into darkness. For a moment, panic gripped her. She couldn't see or hear anything. Then, like a curtain being drawn back, a new scene unfolded before her eyes. She stood in the middle of a bustling laboratory, surrounded by people in white coats speaking hurriedly in hushed tones. The air smelled faintly of chemicals, and the walls were lined with chalkboards covered in complex equations. Confused, Elise looked down at her hands. They weren't hers. They belonged to someone else. A man, older, with calloused fingers stained slightly yellow from years of handling uranium samples. Before she could process what was happening, memories flooded her mind. Not her own, but his. She realized she was inside the body of Dr. Robert Oppenheimer during the Manhattan Project. The weight of his thoughts pressed heavily on her, the thrill of discovery, the fear of failure, and the gnawing guilt over what their work might unleash upon the world. As she watched through his eyes, he scribbled calculations late into the night, knowing full well that the weapon they were creating could end countless lives. Suddenly, the vision shifted again. This time, she found herself standing barefoot on muddy ground, clutching a tattered blanket around her shoulders. She was a child now, shivering in the aftermath of a devastating earthquake. Around her lay ruins, homes reduced to rubble, families searching desperately for loved ones beneath the debris. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but worse was the crushing sense of helplessness. Despite the chaos, moments of hope flickered. Strangers sharing scraps of food, neighbors working together to rebuild shattered walls. Then came another shift. Now she floated weightlessly in space, gazing out at Earth's blue curve through the window of a spacecraft. Again, the memories weren't hers. They belonged to an astronaut stranded alone on Mars after a failed mission. Fear clawed at her chest as oxygen levels dwindled, yet determination burned just as fiercely. Using limited resources and sheer ingenuity, she managed to repair her communication system and send a desperate message home. Against all odds, rescue arrived. Each trial transported her to different points in history, forcing her to experience humanity's triumphs and failures firsthand. Through these visions, Elise began to understand the shard's purpose. It wasn't merely testing her intellect, it was teaching her about resilience, compassion, and the duality of human nature. Every challenge pushed her emotionally and mentally, leaving her physically drained when she returned to reality. By the third day, dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands trembled constantly. Still, she refused to give up. Each time she completed a trial, the shard pulsed brighter, as if acknowledging her progress. Yet doubt lingered in her mind. Was she truly worthy? Could anyone bear the burden of representing an entire species? One evening, exhausted but determined, Elise braced herself for another trial. This time, she found herself in a crowded city square where protesters clashed with riot police. Anger and frustration hung thick in the air. But amidst the chaos, acts of kindness emerged, a medic tending to both sides, a stranger shielding a child from harm. When the vision ended, Elise collapsed onto her chair, tears streaming down her face. She finally understood. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it had the capacity to grow, to care, to fight for something greater than itself. And that was why Caliph had chosen her, to remind her of humanity's potential, even in its darkest hours. With renewed strength, Elise prepared to face whatever trials remained, knowing that each step brought her closer to unraveling the shard's final mystery. Back at her lab, a small, cluttered space tucked away in the corner of an observatory, Elise placed the crystal on her workbench. Her hands still trembled slightly as she adjusted the overhead light to get a better look. The object was mesmerizing. Its surface seemed to shimmer faintly, even in the artificial glow, and tiny veins of color pulsed within it like trapped lightning. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was alive, watching her somehow. "What are you?" she murmured, reaching out cautiously with a pair of tweezers. The moment the metal touched the crystal, a sharp jolt shot through her arm, forcing her to pull back. But this time, instead of just fleeting images, the visions hit her full force. Her mind was flooded with scenes so vivid they felt real. She stood on alien worlds bathed in hues no human eye had ever seen, walked among towering structures that hummed with energy, and watched civilizations rise and fall in the blink of an eye. Symbols swirled around her, shifting too quickly for her to comprehend, yet leaving behind echoes of meaning she couldn't fully grasp. When the visions faded, Elise found herself slumped over the table, gasping for breath. Her head throbbed, but the experience left her more intrigued than afraid. Whatever this artifact was, It wasn't just a random object. It was trying to communicate. Determined to uncover its secrets, she began running tests. Using advanced spectroscopy equipment, she analyzed the crystal's composition, but the results were baffling. It didn't match any known material on Earth or anywhere else in recorded science. Its molecular structure appeared to shift and rearrange itself depending on how it was observed, almost as if it were adapting. "This isn't possible," Elise muttered, staring at the data scrolling across her computer screen. Over the next few days, strange things started happening around her. Her instruments would malfunction without explanation, readings spiking erratically before returning to normal. Lights flickered in the lab, and once, late at night, she swore she saw a shadowy figure standing near the doorway, a humanoid silhouette with glowing eyes. When she blinked, it vanished. Despite these unsettling occurrences, Elise couldn't bring herself to stop studying the crystal. Each time she touched it, new fragments of information surfaced. Cryptic patterns, mathematical equations unlike anything she'd encountered, and glimpses of what seemed to be memories from another being's perspective. One vision showed her standing on a distant moon, gazing up at a massive ring-like structure orbiting a dying star. Another depicted a group of aliens gathered in a council chamber, debating something urgent while pointing at a holographic model of Earth. The more she interacted with the artifact, the clearer one thing became. It wasn't just a relic, it was a key. A tool designed to unlock some greater truth about humanity's place in the universe. But why had it been given to Asterisk or Asterisk? And what did the alien woman mean when she said, "Asterisk, I know you"? Asterisk. Late one evening, as exhaustion weighed heavily on her shoulders, Elise decided to take a break. She sat back in her chair, rubbing her temples, when the crystal suddenly flared to life on its own. Startled, she watched as it projected a beam of light onto the wall, forming intricate symbols that danced and shifted like living creatures. They weren't random. They formed sentences, though written in a language she didn't recognize. Her heart raced. This was it, the breakthrough she'd been waiting for. If she could decode the message, maybe she'd finally understand what the artifact wanted from her. As she reached for her notebook, a soft voice whispered in her mind, not words exactly, but feelings of reassurance and purpose. For the first time since finding the crystal, Elise felt a sense of calm. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she was meant to follow this path. And so, with renewed determination, she dove deeper into the mystery, unaware of how profoundly it would change not only her life, but the fate of humanity itself. Elise moved quickly, reaching out to a small group of trusted colleagues, people whose intelligence and integrity she admired. There was Dr. Liam Carter, an astrophysicist with a knack for solving impossible equations, Priya Patel, a linguist who specialized in deciphering ancient scripts, and Marcus Reed, an engineer capable of building anything from scraps. Together, they formed an unlikely team united by one goal: unlocking the final secrets of the Aether Shard before the convergence arrived. The first meeting took place in Elise's lab, where the shard sat glowing faintly on the table like a silent judge. As each member entered, their eyes widened at the sight of it. "What asterisk is asterisk that?" Marcus asked, his voice tinged with awe and suspicion. "It's complicated," Elise began, sharing as much as she dared without overwhelming them. She explained the visions, Khaleth's warnings, and the impending cosmic event that could either save or doom humanity. "You're telling us aliens gave you this thing?" Liam said skeptically, crossing his arms. "And now we're supposed to trust it?" "I know how crazy it sounds," Elise admitted, her tone steady despite the doubt in the room. "But I've seen what it can do. It's not just some artifact. It's alive, intelligent, and trying to help us." Priya leaned forward, studying the shard intently. "If it's communicating through symbols, maybe I can decode them," she suggested. "Let me take a look." For days, the team worked tirelessly, pooling their expertise to unravel the shard's mysteries. Priya focused on translating its shifting glyphs, while Liam analyzed mathematical patterns hidden within the symbols. Marcus built a custom interface to interact with the shards safely, and Elise coordinated their efforts, piecing together fragments of knowledge revealed during her trials. Progress was slow but promising. They discovered that the shard contained blueprints for technology far beyond anything humanity had ever created. Devices capable of stabilizing Earth's atmosphere, repairing environmental damage, and even amplifying human consciousness. But activating these functions required something more than technical skill: unity. The shard responded only when all four of them worked together, combining their strengths in perfect harmony. As hope began to grow, so did tension. One evening, after hours of fruitless effort, Liam slammed his notebook onto the table. "This is pointless. We don't even know if this thing is really helping us or manipulating us." Manipulating us. Elise shot back, frustration boiling over. If it wanted to hurt us, it could have done so already. Instead, it's giving us tools to save ourselves. But why? Marcus chimed in, his brow furrowed. Why would aliens care about us? Why go through all this trouble? Before Elise could answer, a sudden surge of energy rippled through the room. The shard flared brightly, projecting an image of Zoreth, the stern elder Caliph had mentioned. His towering form filled the space, his presence cold and unyielding. Asterisk foolish humans. Asterisk he intoned, his voice sharp and cutting. Asterisk, you waste time chasing false hope. My people have seen civilizations like yours destroy themselves time and again. You are no different. Asterisk. Elise stepped forward, defiance blazing in her eyes. With respect, you don't know us. Yes, we've made mistakes, but we're also capable of incredible things. If you'd given other species half the chance you've given us, maybe they wouldn't have failed. Zoreth's gaze narrowed, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his expression. Without another word, he vanished, leaving behind a charged silence. Well, Liam muttered, breaking the tension. That was terrifying. Elise turned to her team, resolve hardening in her chest. He's wrong about us. We'll prove it, to him, to Caliph, and to the universe. With renewed determination, they returned to work, knowing the stakes had never been higher. Elise sat alone in her dimly lit lab, staring at the aether shard as it pulsed softly on the table. The trials had taken their toll. Her body ached, her mind was weary, and yet she felt more connected to humanity than ever before. Each vision had shown her both the best and worst of her species, moments of brilliance and compassion alongside greed, violence and destruction. But one question lingered in her thoughts. Why were the Vairani so interested in humanity? As if summoned by her doubts, Caliph appeared once again. This time, she didn't materialize silently. The air crackled with energy, and the lights flickered violently as she stepped into the room. Her presence was commanding, almost overwhelming, but there was also something new in her expression, a hint of urgency. Asterisk, you have endured much, asterisk, Caliph said, her voice resonating in Elise's mind. Asterisk, but now you must understand the stakes fully. Asterisk. Elise straightened, steeling herself for what came next. Tell me everything, she demanded, surprising even herself with her boldness. Caliph nodded, her glowing eyes locking onto Elise's. Asterisk. The convergence I spoke of is not unique to your planet. It is a cosmic event, a collision of energy fields that occurs rarely across the galaxy. When it happens, it amplifies the dominant traits of any civilization caught within its reach. For some, it has been a catalyst for growth, elevating them to new heights of understanding. For others, asterisk, she paused, her gaze darkening. Asterisk, it has unleashed chaos, erasing them entirely. Asterisk. Elise swallowed hard. And you think humanity might fall into the second category. Asterisk, your kind stands at a tipping point. Asterisk, Caliph replied. Asterisk, I have watched civilizations rise and fall, each facing similar challenges. Those who survive are those who learn to transcend fear, division, and selfishness. They unite, not out of coercion, but through shared purpose and hope. Tell me, human, do you believe your species is capable of such unity? Ellis hesitated. How could she answer that? Humanity was fractured, divided by borders, beliefs, and ideologies. Yet, she'd seen glimpses of greatness too. People coming together in times of crisis, strangers risking their lives for one another, communities rebuilding after devastation. I don't know, she admitted finally, but I want to believe we can change. We've done it before, in small ways. Maybe this time, we can do it on a bigger scale. Caliph studied her intently, as if weighing her words. Not all among my people share my faith in your kind. She confessed. Zorath, an elder of the Vairani, believes humanity should be left to face the convergence alone. He sees no reason to intervene on behalf of a species that may destroy itself regardless. Elise felt a chill run down her spine. Then why did you choose me? If your own people doubt us, why bother giving us a chance? Caliph's expression softened slightly. Because I see potential in you, and in your species. You are flawed, yes, but so were many others who came before you. Some rose to meet their challenges, others fell. The choice is yours to make. Prove Zorath wrong. Show him, and the universe, that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Before Elise could respond, Caliph reached out, placing a shimmering hand over the aether shard. Instantly, the crystal flared brighter, projecting images into the air. Vast alien cities bathed in golden light, fleets of starships traversing nebulae, and beings of unimaginable forms working together in harmony. Then the images shifted, showing planets scarred by war, skies choked with ash, and civilizations reduced to ruins. This is what hangs in the balance. Caliph said solemnly. The convergence will amplify whatever path you choose. Will you build or destroy? Unite or divide? The decision rests with you and all of humanity. With that, she vanished, leaving Elise alone with the shard and the weight of her mission. As the visions faded, Elise clenched her fists, determination burning within her. She wouldn't let humanity fail, not when there was still hope. She picked up her phone, dialing colleagues she trusted most. It was time to bring others into this fight. Together, they would decode the final secrets of the shard and prepare Earth for what lay ahead. The convergence arrived sooner than anyone expected. One moment, the world was going about its usual chaos. Cities bustling with activity, governments locked in endless debates, and the next, the skies erupted into dazzling displays of light. Auroras unlike anything humanity had ever seen stretched across continents, bathing the earth in shimmering hues of green, purple, and gold. At first, people marveled at the spectacle, snapping photos and sharing videos online. But awe quickly turned to panic as the phenomenon began disrupting global systems. Power grids failed, plunging entire regions into darkness. Satellites stopped responding, severing communication networks. Natural disasters intensified. Earthquakes shook fault lines, hurricanes battered coastlines, and volcanoes roared to life after centuries of dormancy. It was as if the planet itself were convulsing under the weight of an unseen force. Elise and her team watched the unfolding chaos from their lab, glued to news reports streaming on backup generators. "It's starting," Elise whispered, her voice tight with urgency. "We're running out of time." The aether shard pulsed brighter than ever before, its glow almost blinding. Priya adjusted the interface Marcus had built, trying to stabilize its energy output. If we can activate the shard's final function, it might be able to counteract the convergence, or at least stabilize it enough for us to survive. But how? Liam asked, his hands trembling as he flipped through pages of calculations. Even if we figure out the sequence, we still need a way to amplify its signal globally. Elise stared at the shard, her mind racing. Then it hit her, a memory from one of the trials. The stranded astronaut repairing her communication system, using Earth's magnetic field. Could they harness Earth's own energy to boost the shard's signal? "We use the planet's geomagnetic field," she said suddenly, turning to the others. "If we align the shard with specific points around the globe, the poles, tectonic plate boundaries, we can create a resonance that amplifies its effects worldwide." Marcus nodded, already sketching designs for portable devices that could sync with the shard. "It's risky, but it could work. We'll need to split up and deploy these units simultaneously." As they prepared, Zorith reappeared, his form flickering angrily above the shard. Asterisk, "You waste your final moments chasing futile dreams." Asterisk, he sneered. Asterisk, "Your species is fractured, divided by greed and fear. Unity is impossible." Asterisk, Elise stepped forward, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Maybe we are flawed, but we're also capable of change. You haven't given us a chance." "Not really. Let us prove you wrong." For a moment, Zorith hesitated, then vanished without another word. With no time to waste, the team split up, each carrying a piece of equipment designed to link with the shard. Elise stayed behind, coordinating their efforts while preparing to broadcast a message to the world. Using the shard's interface, she crafted a plea for unity, not just among nations, but among individuals. "This isn't just about survival," she recorded, her voice steady despite the turmoil around her. "It's about who we are as a species. We faced challenges before, and we've overcome them together. Now, more than ever, we need to set aside our differences and come together. For ourselves, for future generations, and for the hope of a better tomorrow." Her message went live, transmitted via whatever channels remained operational. Across the globe, people heard her words. Some dismissed them as desperation. Others acted. Strangers helped one another during blackouts, communities organized relief efforts, and leaders called for ceasefires in long-standing conflicts. Back at the lab, the team synchronized their devices, channeling Earth's energy into the shard. As the final connection clicked into place, the crystal erupted in a brilliant burst of light, sending waves of energy rippling outward. For a heartbeat, everything seemed to stop. Then, slowly, the auroras began to shift, their chaotic dance calming into harmonious patterns. The ground steadied, the winds died down, and the sky cleared, revealing stars shining brighter than ever before. Elise sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Against all odds, humanity had taken its first step towards something greater. And somewhere, Calith watched, pride gleaming in her galaxy-like eyes.